All right. Peace, power, and love as always, and greeting. Melvin Syrian, this is the big picture. I want to welcome my listeners on activatemedia.com.org. And also want to thank all of my subscribers, those who watch the video, like, subscribe, share. Going to be quite a journey. I'm just getting started in this. All new to me. I'm usually audio only, so kind of used to having callers call in, being able to dialogue with people. So this is something that's new to me until I can get my subscribers and all that up, and I'm more interested in being able to interact with the people. This is why I do what I do. Wanted to talk today about America's hypocrisy. Um, I kind of covered some of it on the last show, but just the small things that happens here in this country that are, you know, policed differently. I have been keeping up with this Takaya Young case. I was actually doing some reading on it prior to doing this live. Just trying to stay up to date on it. I'm sure that most of you have saw the video by now. Uh, and I just don't like the narrative that's being spun behind this particular murder. Uh, on the news, several news outlets, they were stating that she accelerated the car towards the police, which really leads people to believe that she, sped towards a police officer, which was not the case. And everybody who has saw the video by now saw that she was cut to the right, probably not even on the gas. I mean, yeah, she had it in drive, but it's evident that she wasn't on the gas accelerating, as they say, because after the officer murdered her, well, the car continued to roll until it hit the wall and stopped. And it didn't go any faster than probably 5 miles an hour, if that. I honestly don't think that the officer's life was in danger at all. It would have been different had she turned the wheels back to the left and actually just smashed the gas, burned out, and tried to run over this officer, which we can all see in the video is not the case. She cut the wheels to the right and she was trying to ease forward. And if anybody's at fault, it's the police officer. For one, being in front of the car, then constantly positioning himself in front of the car, even as she's trying to turn and make the hard right. Yeah, the car is going to strike you if you put yourself in front of the car. But the car wasn't rolling fast enough to cause any injuries to this officer. Uh, no reason for this officer to pull a gun and shoot this young lady, once in the chest, killing her. Now she has a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I was just, like I say, doing some reading on ABC News, and they just had her funeral on Thursday. So this is really a sad situation. She was pregnant at the time she was shot. And this is, bothersome to me because these coward cops don't have any regard for our women nor our children nor our elderly. They will brutalize anyone who looks like you and me, no matter the age, no matter the gender. We are always targeted. And I was just reading some of the comments from uh, her family, and said that she treated her two young boys like kings. She uh, worked extra hard to get them, tried to get them everything that they wanted, but definitely providing their needs. She was only 21 years old. They said she had had some issues, which who at that age, doesn't have some issues trying to figure out life, and especially when you have two kids to take care of. She lost her mother, um, and they say her family members said that has been had been very hard for her, losing her mother. And I mean, just imagine that, yeah, you lose your mother, and the irony of this whole incident is when the police arrived on the scene and she's speaking to one of them, you can clearly hear her ask, "Are you going to shoot me?" Um, Little did she know, yeah, they were going to shoot her. Um, she, like I say, was expecting her third child, a little girl, and they say, her family members say that she was thrilled about, bringing a little girl into the world. She was a she was a uh, wanted an aspiring social worker. Uh, is what she wanted to do with her life, and this is, just another one of those instances when we have our young people taken before their time, taken way too early, and then we have the situations like this situation in Ohio, where they're going to be investigating themselves. And this is something that I, strongly disagree with. Uh, the aggressiveness that police officers have shown over the last few years uh, is troublesome, to say the least. And there's no wonder why, we don't trust police. And just like in this instant, this young lady asked, "Are you going to shoot me?" And little did she know that is exactly what would end up happening to her. Um, so, I mean, this is why I'm not for qualified immunity. This is why I'm for police to police. Uh, it doesn't matter what we tell our children. We can tell our children how to conduct themselves during traffic stops, but it still doesn't mean that it's going to have a positive outcome. Um, and like I say, this is just another senseless situation where someone had to lose her life. And not only did she lose her life, her unborn daughter passed away as well. They were not able to save the baby in her stomach. So we have two losses, that are senseless. We have two losses that didn't have to happen. So, um, You know, when will it stop? This is the hypocrisy of America. America is not a democracy, nor is it a just place or an equal or fair place. Had that been and her crime, her crime was an accusation made by one of the store owners that she had just left from, said that she was shoplifting. So I don't care what she done. It didn't warrant her losing her life. Uh, and this is always the answer. This is always the action taken by these coward cops. You know, uh, it just I try to wrap my mind around it, but you just can't because, like I say, this is a senseless killing of a 21-year-old young woman who was not a threat to anyone, not a threat to anyone. And then now we have the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation who will be leading the investigation. The police investigating the police. And things like this happen because police are emboldened to do these things. Police are not held accountable for their actions. And this is why I say qualified immunity needs to be done away with. What has Joe Biden done for us? I keep asking this question. And, at this point, it doesn't matter. We all know and understand. He hasn't done anything for us, nothing to benefit us. And these types of situations continue to happen because this administration is complicit as well as so many administrations in the past. Now, we have a family who's grieving. We have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old who no longer have their mother. Uh, and they say the 6-year-old understands what has happened, but still is having a problem accepting it. And the 3-year-old, they say, really doesn't understand, which, at 3 years old, no, you're not. You're just going to want mama, and unfortunately, it's something that he no longer has. So, I mean, when is enough enough? Are we going to continue to watch this double standard of injustice continue to happen to us and only us? Or will we take a stand and finally do what is right? Because, see, there's nothing wrong with standing up. There's nothing wrong with speaking out, and especially against the injustices that we face in this country. Period. This is not the first. This won't be the last. Have we forgotten about Breonna Taylor, Corbin Gaines, and the countless others, Sandra Bland, Tatiana Jefferson? They have no regard for our women. And black men, where is our regard for our women? When are we going to take the stand and provide the safe haven that our women and children not only need but deserve? This has really become an epidemic that we're facing. And it's sad that our children are not safe. It's sad that our women are not safe. and this is just another, you know, incident that proves my case. America ain't great. America has never been great. And these are the types of incidents that continue to happen in this country that show me this country will never be great because it still hasn't atoned for its past, and now it's trying to hide its past, and it still, even in present day, refuses to atone for its transgressions. Period. And I'm tired of, like I say, I'm tired of saying names, tired of making hashtags. We worth more than a hashtag. We deserve to live just like any other person deserves to live. And that's all we want to do is live and be left alone and be able to prosper. Now, this young lady, like I say, was uh, getting herself together, like her family said. And like I say, when you're 21, we've all been there before. We don't know which way to go. We trying to figure it out, you know, and we're trying to do what's right, at that age. Uh, and like I say, just put our lives, trying to put our lives together, you know. Uh, and now, like I say, uh, she's gone. She had applied for housing, and I was reading in the article where just this week she received a letter and she was approved. So that would have been, you know, something beautiful that happened, and allowing her to take the steps to get the independence that she wanted for her and her children. And now, her mother is gone, so now her 6-year-old son and 3-year-old son will be raised by the grandmother. And this is sad. These young men, these young boys, having to lose their mother over something as senseless as alleged shoplifting. And there have been so many instances where our young people have been profiled and then gunned down. Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, a young 12-year-old kid playing with a toy gun in a park, and the police roll up and within a second and a half shoot him dead. No respect for human lives, especially black human lives, black young human lives. 12 years old. 12 years old. No longer with us because of the actions of a coward cop who shot this young man inside the car before they even opened the doors and got out of the car. As they're rolling up, he shot this young man. You know, so my condolences go out to the family of Takaya Young, and I hope I'm saying her name right. Uh, because what happened to her didn't have to happen. Didn't have to happen. And yeah, true enough, they were ordering her out of the car. Well, something that I think people who don't have to deal with this need to understand is that when we are constantly bombarded with images and videos of cops killing us and doing us any kind of way they choose. And we have got to make it allow our women and children the, like I say, safe havens that they deserve. Uh, it's really, you know, tiring mentally uh, when we have to see every other week, you know, or every other day, every so many days, black men, women, children, elderly being mistreated and brutalized by these police, having their lives taken for no reason. And like I say, once again, you know, my condolences to the family of Kaya Young, because this is just another uh, senseless murder that they are, you know, prolonging, because in my honest opinion, anytime these incidents happen, the cops should be placed on leave without pay. Why are we still being made to pay taxes to pay these cops who murder and brutalize people? Why are our tax dollars still being used to pay them? When these instances and incidents happen, yeah, they should be immediately placed on administrative leave without pay. I mean, if I go out and kill somebody, I'm not going to still get to go to work and get paid. So they're no different, and they should be held at a much higher standard than we are as regular citizens, because their job is to uphold the law. And then we have another incident where they do the most and go overboard and kill an innocent woman with daughter. So they kill two people senselessly. They haven't released the name, the officer or the name, but let it be you or I that kill somebody. They'll have your government name, your nickname, your street name, what your mom and daddy call you. They'll have every alias that you've ever had and your picture all over the news. But when these officers kill, they conceal the identity, try to hide the evidence, and even on the tape they blurred both of the officers' faces out. So we don't know who done it. We just know that there's a young lady with a daughter who lost her life. And then, you know, here in Texas, actually in Duncanville, where I used to live before I moved over here to Oak Cliff, and Duncanville's about maybe a 15-minute drive from where I'm at, give or take a minute or two. But we have a young man. This actually happened uh, about 3 weeks ago. Well, around the beginning of August, around the first or second week of August. Anyway, young man, Keandre Green, who just happens to be 21 as well, like to jog, you know, get up in the morning and take him a run around the neighborhood. Well, uh, uh, on this particular morning, as he's uh, taking his run, he is spotted by some woman. We'll call her Karen, because that's what she was. Who the young man? Let me give you the backstory. 21 years old, was jogging through the neighborhood and had to urinate. So in Duncanville and most of the neighborhoods, there are back alleys. Uh, so as he's jogging, he cuts through one of the back alleys and finds some shrubbery and bushes to duck off in so he could urinate. He simply had to urinate, which, if saw by anyone, would be a simple indecent exposure, and he'd probably be fined for indecent exposure, you know. So, Karen calls in and says there's a man exposing himself, which was not the case, but some these people know what to say, how to say it, and what descriptions to give in order to get immediate assistance from the police. Get them out there like that. So this Karen calls in and says that there's a man uh, exposing himself, which was not the case. And look, as men, we have all had that urge to hit us at sometimes the most unfortunate times. And we have all, as men, had to one time or another duck behind a bush or stand behind a tree, and you, in doing that, do your best to conceal yourself. If you're standing behind a tree, you're really up against that tree so that you can conceal yourself, so that you won't be seen if there are people around, And in this case, with this young man, what he chose to do, I think, was the right decision, as opposed to urinating on himself, to duck into an alley and find a bush to relieve himself. Well, the police show up and approach the man, and as they approach him, he's tells them that he's out jogging, and they run his name and find out that there's a warrant, but this warrant hadn't been signed by a judge. So there is a warrant, but it couldn't have been an active warrant because it had not yet been signed by a judge. So these officers approach him, and upon running his name, they say that he took off running. And I'll say this, as far as, for just a piece of advice for our young black men and women: don't run, because that gives them that opens the door for them to take it up a notch. So what happens in this particular case, and I wish you all could see the picture of this young man. He appears to be about maybe 5'6", give or take. Looks like he may weigh about 130 to 140 pounds, maybe. But he was punched in the face. Once they caught up with him, they tackled him. He was punched in the face, and you can see the visible marks on his face. They tackled him so hard that it broke his spine in 3 places. And this is a 21-year-old who enjoyed jogging every morning, he said. He says ever since the accident has happened that he is in pain every day. And he stated to the reporter that was interviewing him that he was in pain at that particular moment. He said it even hurt him to talk. You know, this is behind being punched in the face. And like I say, you can see his face is swollen and he has visible scars. So is this necessary? Just for stopping in an alley to urinate, to escalate it to the point of fracturing a young man's back in 3 different places, violently punching him, he said. So this is, why I say we've got to police the police. We have definitely got to give our children the knowledge, to fight. We've got to give our children, we got to weaponize them because they're under attack just as well as we are. And like I say, I'm not one I'm not one to say act a fool, but I'm also not one that's so quick to say comply, because even in compliance we have saw black men and women gunned down. Even while handcuffed, we have saw black men and black women murdered by the entity that runs under the mantra of protect and serve. And that must be for some and not others. Because it's apparent that they're not here to protect nor serve our communities. When they come into our communities, they don't come into our communities to protect and serve. They come into our communities to police and brutalize. Because that's all they seem to do when they are within our communities, is brutalize us, murder us, keep us living in a state of fear. And these are two senseless acts. One resulting in the death of a mother and an unborn daughter. The other resulting in a young man who was an avid jogger who may not ever be able to jog again. I just had back surgery on my lower back. They said that he has between his mid to lower back, I believe, no, upper to low, between the spine bones between the upper and lower back. He's got 3 breaks. So recovery is going to be extensive and very time consuming. He's going to need someone to be there to help him for a few months. They not only, did what they done to him, but they took this young man's livelihood. He will never be the same again after having this happen to him. To Kaya Young's family will never be the same after losing her at the hands of these killer cops. These cowards. And this is why I say America and it's double standards. It's two justice systems. It's two economic systems. America has two of everything. What they'll do for us and what they'll do for them. And they are totally different. And the help is not as in abundance when it comes to us. Now, when it comes to policing them, you have a whole different set of rules. Had they found a young white boy that was jogging and had to urinate and decided to run through a back alley and catch a bush, they probably would have asked him a couple of questions and he'd have been on his way. Because had a Karen looked out her window and saw a young white male standing there, it may not have been deemed as such a threat. And I don't see how a man urinating in a bush is a threat to anybody. And for that Karen to call in simply because a man is using a bush, saying that he's exposing himself to get the reaction from these coward cops that come on scene, that's all that was about. That's all it was about. Saying what needed to be said in order to get the proper reaction from the cops when they arrive. And we see this happen often when it comes to us. If you can recall the incident that happened in New York where the man was bird watching and filming and asked the woman, would she, please move her dog back or whatever, however it happened. But then he's recording her on the phone telling white lies with them white women tears, lying, talking about there's a black man trying to attack her. And that's all it takes for the police to come and be ready to do something unnecessary because of the unnecessary lie that is told. So good thing that brother, for one, was filming, and I would have liked to saw what happened when the police did show up. That's something that we didn't get to see in that particular video. But, it's just sad that we don't have any allies. And the least little thing we do is over dramatized to the point of, getting a brutal action from these coward cops that show up already scared, already in fear, and always in fear of their lives, even though they have the best weapons that money can buy. They can always manage to take things overboard when it comes to us. And this young man has a long road to recovery, and I wish him the best. And I hope he sues them, not just the department. I hope he sues each cop responsible individually as well. Those are ways that we can start affecting somewhat of a different treatment, is start suing the cops, hold them accountable for their actions, since the system is not. The system is never going to hold them accountable. They're going to investigate themselves, and they're not going to place the types of punishment and restrictions and consequences that need to be rendered. It's just they won't do that. So It's up to us to bring our bodies together in a unified fashion. Like I always say, we need each other. I'm gonna say that on every show. I'm gonna try to remember to throw that in because I want that to subliminally sink in. We need each other out here, plain and simple. If we were doing what we were supposed to do collectively, we wouldn't have to worry about Takaya Youngs and Keandre Greens being brutalized and murdered by these coward cops. If we would simply unify, come together with a plan, organize it, stay unified longer than just while that situation is happening. Because if there's something that we should know and understand by now, is that these situations are going to continue to happen. And they will continue to happen until we organize ourselves and stand up against what's plaguing us. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. I'm tired of watching our young people be brutalized. I'm tired of watching our women be brutalized. I'm tired of watching our elderly brutalized at the hands of these coward cops who are always in fear of their life. And if they in that big a fear for their life, they need to get them a job working at Dollar General. Uh, get them a job working in a warehouse where they don't have to worry about being in fear of their lives. Because them being in fear of their lives is killing us. And I'm going to leave y'all with that. I want to thank everybody that's liking, subscribing, sharing. Thank everybody that watches the video. I appreciate y'all. Like I say, I'm just a concerned black man in America. I want to make a difference, and I want us to understand that we are difference makers. And with that being said, like I always say in closing, let's plan, let's organize, let's unify, because we all have a key right here and right here. I'm out. I love y'all. Till the next video. Peace, power, and love.